Hello and welcome. Today I will be attempting to make macarons. I've never made them before and I'm gonna use Claire Saffitz's recipe. I'll link it in the description. It's really in-depth and I think it's beginner friendly, so that's why I chose that one. But yeah, let's get started. So the ingredients that you will need, and also materials or stuff you will need in general, is a scale, about 3 egg whites, I'm not sure because it needs to be weighed, cocoa powder, almond flour, a sieve, powdered sugar, normal sugar, vanilla extract, a piping bag, and as a true professional I'm using just a bag and I'll cut it a little bit here and hope for the best. A toothpick, spatula, dark chocolate because I'm making chocolate macarons, a bowl, maybe another one, a mixer, 2 baking sheets with 2 baking trays. And in the recipe she said that it's better for you to have no borders on them, so I found this one. Hopefully this one works better than this one. And I've also made some little guides, if you can see, with a bottle cap, a disassembled one, because here in Europe we have them stuck to the bottle. Very innovative. Yeah, just 3 rows of 5 and then 2 rows of 4. So yeah, that's all you'll need. And also cooking cream for pastries. Hello, it's me editing Fifironci, and as you can probably tell, I've had some technical difficulties while filming this video. So I was, doing my thing, baking, mixing up the ingredients, and then I noticed that my phone had stopped filming, and when I saw the video, it was a 20-minute video of just slow-mo. So I deleted half of it, and half of the part that I deleted was where I was explaining what I added, what I was doing. But anyway, I just mixed cocoa powder, powdered sugar, and also, what else? And almond flour, yeah. All the dry ingredients, and I just had to mix them in nicely. But as you can see, there's a lot of little clumps of powdered sugar and cocoa powder, so I had to really work it in and then hope for the best. And also another thing I would like to add is that Claire Saffitz did use a food processor, which would be much more handy than a spatula. And I also didn't have a whisk, so I just had to work with what I had. But yeah, definitely use a food processor for this, because if your almond flour is not fine, like how mine was, which I did not know, I would have had a much nicer and smooth batter as well. So yeah. The next thing I did was sift the combination of dry ingredients together, so hence the parchment paper at the back. And what the heck? Yeah, and I also had trouble with that because I needed to have a nice uniform batter and I needed to discard all the large bits. This sift you're seeing right here did not work. So I had to use a even finer one, which was teeny tiny weeny. And since it was so fine and the dry ingredients were not, I had to use my finger to push it down. I'm back. Did that take longer than I expected? Yes. It took me 40 minutes to work it with this. I had to use my fingers. And also I don't know if there's enough now because there was a lot of big lumps from the almond flour. It was not fine. And also I have 3.5 hours to go until I go to work. And this recipe takes 3 hours. So I'm hoping for the best. And yeah, now I'm realizing that this really is harder than usual baking, because that's what they say, and it takes quite some time, especially if you don't have the right materials and like tools and stuff, and also proper products like fine almond flour. But yeah, I'm gonna keep going and like hope they turn out well, because I really want them to. So now I'm gonna set this aside, get rid of this, and I'm gonna prepare my meringue. So this is a little mountain that took me 40 minutes to make. But yeah, sure. So 90 grams of egg whites, room temperature eggs. So I'm going to do this cautiously because I don't want it to go wrong like the previous step. So I'm going to put the egg white here and egg yolk here so that there's no yolk, and then measure it. Now I'm just going to use a spoon to make sure that I can get 90 grams, because egg whites are a little bit... Okay, 90 grams, done. And I'm going to put half a teaspoon of salt. Following the recipe, I started making my French meringue. So I started whipping first slowly and then making it a little bit more faster when I started to notice that it was getting a little bit white and frothy, to which then I started adding a mixture of granulated sugar and powdered sugar, which I saw that she did in her video, but not in the actual written recipe. And yeah, I added that in slowly and all in one go. And yeah, you need to beat it until it's stiff, and it also needs to hold marks from the whisk. It needs to go from glossy to matte, and it also needs to start gathering inside the whisk. So yeah, a lot of specifications. Also, another thing, I did move in one direction because I saw that, you know, pastry chefs do that, I think. And final thing, it should stand straight up when you lift up the, you know, thingy, the mixer, as shown in this video. And it also should stay completely in the bowl, stuck, you know, when you lift it up and stuff. So now that I've got my French meringue, I think it's okay. I need to put half of the dry ingredients into here and mix it quite well. Okay, so the motion, now I've got half of it in, I need to swipe it and then press it against the bowl. And it should darken as you mix. So at first it should be light, and then hopefully it darkens, and it needs to be like a lava consistency. I've never seen lava in my life, but it needs to ribbon and like hold its shape when you like lift it, and it drips all the way without breaking. And it needs to deflate as well. So all that beating from the meringue needs to like go, I guess. And I need to like push it against the bowl. Hopefully this works. But my arms are already like so tired. It's a whole journey and a huge process. So I'm gonna put the other half in because it has mixed well. Oh. Yeah. We're back, and I've been mixing this for probably around 30 minutes, and it's still not an unbroken ribbon, so Yeah, and I did even the test. So you put your teaspoon in, put it, and then you have a peak and it has to settle, but also keep its like peak, which mine is not doing. But at least it is like staying put. So I think I'm just going to continue and hope for the best. I know it's not going to be perfect at this point. This is the most chaotic baking recipe, whatever, I've ever made. I'm not joking. It has been so messy, such a journey, so much work, but at least I'm like trying, so yeah, it's an experience. So I'm gonna start piping and yeah. So at this point I couldn't bother doing any commentary because I was rushing. So yeah, anyway, I put the piping bag in a cup, put the filling in it, and I had to make sure to not form any large air pockets as I was pouring the mixture. Afterwards, I put a kitchen towel under the baking tray, which was with the parchment and all the guides, and I started piping. So yeah, I needed to make sure to pipe directly 90 degrees, you know, no angles at all. And I had to even out the circle, and I needed to also do it with even pressure and also make a little flick or peak on the top, which, you know, as I said before, mine did not do, but it still filled out the circle. And you know, she did say that the circles should expand a bit. That was normal, but mine did a little bit, maybe too much. But anyway, it still worked. And then I needed to tap the baking sheet down onto the towel firmly on the surface several times, just to make sure to get rid of any air bubbles and also to make sure that the circles do settle nicely. Then I did the second tray the same way. After that, I used a toothpick to just pick out any of the larger air bubbles, and she did warn not to do it too much because you shouldn't overdo it. Okay, so it's not looking great at all, but we're gonna keep on going. So my Macarons look really pancakey. I don't know, and they're looking a little bit grainy. I don't know if you can see that. I think it's the almond flour. But now I need to wait for 30 minutes to 1 hour for them to like dry on the top, and then I can start baking. So yeah. So it's been exactly 30 minutes and I think they're ready. Of course, they're not perfect, but I'm just going to try at this point. So the test is you need to tap it and it doesn't go onto your finger, but it keeps its shape and it's nice and firm, has a nice thick layer. I'm going to preheat my oven to 148.89 Celsius or 300 degrees Fahrenheit. Do it first for 16 minutes. Try it, do that other test, and if not, then it's like 16 to 22 minutes. So between that time, it depends on your oven, I guess. While waiting for the shells to bake, I did start preparing for my ganache, which will be the filling for the macarons. So I chopped up some dark chocolate as finely as possible, and then I put it in a glass bowl with some espresso powder and a pinch of salt. Oh, and some vanilla extract. So I see that they're starting to crack. I don't know if you can see it. And yeah, that should not happen. So yeah, definitely a fail. But I can see that it's starting to have like a foot. So there's a foot and then the shell, which is the nice smooth top. Mine is not smooth, it's cracked. But at least I have a nice little foot. Okay, they're ready. And basically the test was to like hold the macaron by the sides of the shell and see if it moves. If it moves, then it needs to be baked a little bit more, but if not, it's ready. But anyways, mine are looking quite wrinkly and cracked, so yeah, I know I did something wrong, but they're not looking too bad. There's like a small foot. I don't know if you can see it, like over here. See how there's like a, oops, foot and then shell, like the ruffly bit. So yeah, not looking too bad, but still it's not what it should be. So while I'm waiting for the shells to cool down and also to bake the other ones, I'm gonna make the chocolate ganache, or attempt to make, because I'm not really sure if this is heavy cream or like, because my mom said, oh no, it's whipping, but this is all I have, so I'm gonna just use this. So I'm gonna use 4 ounces. The instructions for the ganache were to basically heat up the heavy cream, not too vigorously though, because it shouldn't be too hot when you pour it over the chocolate and the other stuff. So I just made sure to test it out with my finger, and then I just poured it over while getting a spoon to make sure to submerge all the chocolate bits, and then let it sit for a minute or so. While waiting for that, I peeled off one of the macarons and it came off a little bit stuck to the parchment paper, which was not ideal. It was also not smooth as it should have been. And yeah, then I also took out the other ones that were baking in the oven. And if you want to know what happens if you don't rest them on like room temperature for them to like dry on the top, this is what happens. They get extra cracked and extra ugly. So yeah, don't do that. But I was just rushing at this point, so yeah. I moved on to then mixing in the ganache, which turned out really well. I was really happy with that. After mixing for like 3 seconds, it instantly got to this like really nice texture and visibly looked really nice. And also taste-wise, I tried it. So yeah, then I filled up my trusty piping bag, to which then it ripped. But anyways, I started piping, as in scooping up some ganache and like putting it on the macaron, which is not ideal as well because you want a nice even layer. And also at that point my ganache was rested quite well, so it was quite thick. It was not easy to put a nice pretty like blob of ganache, so yeah. But yeah, I kept on piping and that was it. So I just finished up piping up the ganache filling into the macarons, and yeah, they're done. And I need to let them age for 24 hours, so I'll put them in the fridge, and tomorrow I'll try them because I already tried the shell of one of them because I have some left over. Don't feel like making any more ganache, but they're really chewy. And the aging process is supposed to make them chewy, so I think mine are already aged, but never mind, we'll just put them in the fridge and see it tomorrow, so yeah. Hey, it's been 2 days since I've baked the macarons, and now it's time to taste test them. So I did try them. These are all that's left of the macarons that I baked, but they are quite different than when I first tried them. So just the shell, it was really chewy, and I don't know, I thought to myself, okay, so it didn't work out, and you know, it's normal. This is what this channel is about. But yesterday I tried them for like the first time with like the macaron filling and like the shell, and they are really good. Like, I was so surprised at myself that they actually worked out because I thought they didn't. The only problem is though that I think, so if you wait, let me grab a more prettier one. The shells are cracked, so I either like, I saw in the end that I think I baked them too much, or I don't know, but something in the filling, not the filling, what was it called? The shell batter, yeah, the shell batter it was definitely not right, but I saw that as I was baking, because first of all, it didn't ribbon like nice and smoothly. It had to be an uncut ribbon. Mine was not. Also, the batter was a little bit grainy, and it was definitely the almond flour. So next time I need to know super fine almond flour. And another thing is, it is a good idea to like put the dry ingredients through a food processor, because that's how you'll know that it's going to be nice and smooth, not grainy at all. But yeah, anyway, it was a great experience. I didn't expect them to actually work out, like to actually have a macaron. And also another thing I forgot. So I didn't get a nice even layer of filling of the ganache, but also I put too much, in my opinion, because as you saw my piping bag, it failed me. I might have also overmixed the batter or undermixed it. Honestly, I'm not too sure which of the two. For example, this one, as you can see, like the foot isn't really that ruffled. I don't know. And also they didn't really rise much in the oven. So I saw on the internet, you either overmixed or undermixed it. I think I might have overmixed it, and also my batter was not correct. So that's why it didn't ribbon. But honestly, I'm not too sure. But anyway, they're really good. They taste just like from a shop or bakery. Honestly, I'm happy. They might not look good, you know, they're cracked, wrinkly, but they're nice, they're tasty. So yeah. Yesterday they were nicer though. But yeah, the aging process, you have to do it. Because when I first tried them, I thought they're super chewy and they're kind of like crispy and hard. But when they sit in the fridge, like I just put some cling film, and yeah, they're really good. Of course, maybe, you know, there's too much filling in terms of like the shell, but I'm happy with it. At least I tried it. But yeah, thank you for watching this video. It was really chaotic. I've baked before, I know how to cook, but this was a different experience for me since I was filming as well. Also, another thing I would like to mention is now I understand why they're so pricey. So even if like the ingredients, they're nothing special really, except maybe the almond flour, you know, that's kind of more expensive. But the process of like making them is actually hard. I think I spent about maybe 5 hours nearly 5 hours making them. But I did have problems, like I didn't have a proper sieve, I didn't have proper ingredients, and that, you know, cost me some time. But yeah, now I understand why they're so pricey, because, you know, you put the effort into making them, and then by the end of it, I don't know how many macarons even I made, but you know, what's left of them is not a lot, but maybe we ate about maybe like 8 macarons, and now I've got this. And I did have a couple shells like from the extra batter that I showed. But yeah, not a lot. So yeah, thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.